And welcome inside the Backstage Pass here for a Tuesday. Hard to believe it's halfway through the month of April 2022. Always good to be back here with our good friends over at Bangtail Whiskey, and check them out, the Easy Liquor app, and also our good friends over at MitchMacs.com, and of course our friends at Hank Jr. Productions. Appreciate all the work that our sponsors do. Brandon Morrell here, of course, with the entire team, Kirsty Krause and Nick Canizales, and pleased to welcome in here on a Tuesday. Feels good for a Tuesday after a 4-day weekend. I can't complain. Will Carter joins us here on the program, Texas country artist. The album is How You Know, which is out there across all the platforms for you guys to check out. Will, what's going on, man? Been a while since we chatted.
It has been. I'm doing the same thing I think everybody's doing, trying to catch up from this long weekend. Call it a break, and you need a break when you get back. That's how it goes.
That's the way I feel too, no doubt. And still shows this week and next week, and I don't feel like sometimes I'll get a break. The only time I feel like I get a break is about 9 o'clock at night, put the kid to bed, and it's like me and the wife try to stay awake to watch
maybe
something. Maybe an hour.
Same
we're just kaput. We're down. Well, hey, tell me what's been going on since we last talked. You guys have been busy. I mean, playing the entire state, going crazy. Anybody that knows you knows from Katy, Texas, Southeast Texas, y'all play just a tremendous amount of kick-ass shows. I think last time we talked was Good Bad Idea. That did real well for you guys, that whole full record. Just catch me up on since Good Bad Idea, and of course the new record, How You Know.
Yeah, so right after Good Bad Idea, of course, COVID hit. And so there was put out, for me, that was my first full-length album. I had an EP prior to that. And then we were in the heart of COVID. So it was really the only thing you could do was write. So I wrote 2 albums worth of music during that lockdown period, which I think a lot of my artist buddies did the same thing. I mean, it's kind of been the same story. We all spent that time writing and recording because that's what we could do. And so then the challenge was, okay, we have all this music, what do we put out now and what do we kind of hang on to? So we picked the ones we wanted, and we dropped my second full-length album, which was the How You Know album, last October 29th on my wife's birthday. I got married in 21. So this past weekend was my 1-year anniversary on Sunday, actually Easter Sunday. So big year for me. Bought a house, got married, dropped another album. This was, of course, we had the Texas Regional Radio Awards. I was up for New Male Artist of the Year there for the second year in a row, which is interesting because I feel like I've been around way too long to fall into that category. But it was October was the 4th year I was nominated for Male Artist of the Year at the Texas Country Music Awards, and we played. They chose us to play for their. They have like a pre-party in the Stockyards the night before the actual awards. I've been to it several years in a row, and it is, in my opinion, that's the party. That's the fun show to play. So they asked me if I wanted to play at the awards show or if I wanted to headline the Stockyards, and I said absolutely that. And we brought a whole different show when we dropped the album. We worked with Tom Jackson. He was a live show producer, and 2 weeks before he was working with us, he was working with the band Perry. Before that, it was Rascal Flatts. He's designed Sarah Swift's show. He's the man. And so our show is not a group of musicians standing there playing guitar and singing or whatnot. It's very interactive. And so we brought that show with all of our light up stuff and running around through the crowd and bringing people on stage. And the Stockyards didn't know what hit them. So they've doubled our pay and invited us back this year. So we'll be back there again in November, which we'll have to come up with something new to do to surprise them, I suppose. But man, that's been the thing, is we're just so tired of being locked up, playing everywhere we could. So we've gotten, even outside of Texas, we did a big run in New Mexico. We're focusing hard on, obviously Texas, of course, but also hitting some of those Texas country pockets that we have around the country. Colorado Springs, I was just there this past weekend. Looking at South Dakota, there's actually a Texas country pocket in San Diego, California, which surprised me a little bit. But that's really the goal for the rest of this year is, we've about got the calendar filled back up where we were pre-COVID, and now expanding that outside of just the Texas region, but hitting those other Texas country markets around the country.
I love your music, and it's so diverse in so many ways, but it's just down home good, kick-ass country music, and I've heard it in several dance halls, and of course the radio stations I used to work for keep playing it. And what's cool about it is you've got that type of music that just gets people out on the dance floor. At least I feel that way too, and just in all capacity, all fans of just not just country, but great music. And it goes back to that last album, and I like to reiterate it because Good Bad Idea did so many great things for you guys. Started with the whiskey, it was a big hit out there, and then one of my favorites too was a great music video. Maybe you can expound on this a little bit. The Fiesta Siesta Tequila Repeat, and I thought that was a great title for a song. Kind of update the audience on those three and how well they did for you guys.
It's funny, and it's funny that you mentioned those two. It's great. You know, I wanted, when I wrote the Good Bad Idea album, I wanted something in there for everybody, and I don't follow the Nashville rule where you have to look a certain way and dress a certain way and make all your songs sound a certain way. That, you know, Kenny Chesney, you can hear his song and, you know, it's a Kenny Chesney song, right? So I don't do that. I let the song, which the song starts with the hook, and in that case, the hook was Fiesta Siesta Tequila Repeat, and I let the hook drives how the song is written, but it also drives the production and the feel, right? So I like to say that album has something in there for everybody. I mean, there's Started with a Whiskey is a huge favorite with my older demographic. The same demographic that can't stand Fiesta Siesta Tequila Repeat. And then Fiesta Siesta Tequila Repeat has, you know, the kids jumping up and down in their seat and they love it. Anyways, and I like both of them. That song was fun. It was fun to just write, just because I don't know. We figured it would be catchy, and we were hoping to pitch that and get it picked up, by a bigger artist. And we had Old Dominion or somebody like that was looking at it briefly. They passed on it, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. We're going to put it out, go to radio with it, and do this music video. And we were all excited about it. And then I think it was 2 weeks after we put it out, Luke Bryan comes out with a song called Sunrise, Sunburn, Sunset Repeat. Completely bothered us. He added my song.
I remember that too, when he first had come out with that too. And I loved Bar Hopping on there too, which I thought was one of the best country songs to put out there on a particular album. You guys had fun with that one. What was the backstory of Bar Hopping?
That's so, you know, obviously the pun was get this bar hopping, fun on bar hopping. But so now that's how we open our show. Is I'm not even on stage. The band starts rocking out, and then cuts out into this acapella thing where we all do the chorus or whatever, and then I show up in the back of the room and come from the back with handing out light up stuff and whatever, just to kind of get everybody riled up right off the bat.
and back to the one you were talking about that too, with Fiesta Siesta Tequila Repeat. That music video had to be kick ass and just too much fun to make, right? You all had too much fun.
Well, I mean, you start drinking tequila at 9 a.m. You can't really go wrong, right? It was
no.
And honestly, that song just landed us a pretty cool deal. We got to play last week in San Antonio they're having Fiesta Week the last 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
The most this past week was Niosa, which is night in Old San Antonio. And it was that song and that video that really sparked their interest in us. So they reached out and got a hold of us and asked us to come down and play. And I had heard of Fiesta Week. I'd never been to it. They'd sent me some pictures, and it's 50, 60,000 plus people that attend this festival. We'd love to have you, kind of thing. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. It was an understatement because I guess they had a limited version last year, but then they had been shut down the year prior or whatnot. And so people were ready to throw down. There were 15 to 20,000 people there at night. We played Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and it was an absolute blast. So now we got to get back over to San Antonio. So we made a bunch of friends. So be in the area.
It's a great town. I just came back from there this weekend, visiting some family and just enjoying the time. And if you ever get a chance to get out there to that San Antonio Missions, that is a great minor league team just to go see. Well, if you watch baseball, I tell people
I had season tickets to the Astros. My wife got she went to college on a softball scholarship. She's a big Astros fan. And then when she was in residency, she did a little stint in Philly, 2015, 16, whatever that was, when Philly won the World Series. And then she moved to Texas in 2017 when the Astros won the World Series. So I'm banking on the fact that now we have season tickets. We're going to be going. Good luck, charm. Maybe we'll get a here. See what
I may have to holler at you too. We may have to go together and just kind of meet up, wife, buddy, and just enjoy a game.
I'm telling you, I don't know what I'm going to do with 90 tickets to the great parking pass. The seats are amazing. They're right behind home plate. The first behind the diamond levels, row 13, 4 seats right on the end. We went last night. It was amazing. But yeah, I got to figure out what to do with a whole bunch of them. So I'm not being. Don't be shy.
Reach out to me, brother. Like I said, text me anytime, no doubt. Hey, we're going to have you play one here on the show. Again, it's How You Know is the current album out there across all the digital platforms. It's Texas country artist Will Carter here on the show. Don't forget, tomorrow, James Garland is going to stop by him on Friday. She's going on tour with Tim McGraw. The great Alexandra Kay is going to come by, no doubt about it. And if you missed yesterday, we had Thompson Square on the show, so go back and check that out again at the sportsguyspodcast.com. Will, I'll turn it over to you, my friend, and the first of two dealer's choice today you get to play.
Oh, all right. Well, grab this guy.
Big old guitar.
Never leave home without it.
That's exactly a piece of car. You can't leave home without it. There you go.
All right. You know, this is a song that I wrote on my way to the Texas Regional Radio Awards 3 weeks ago. I've not played it anywhere, so I'm going to play it here.
All right, here we go.
Try to make wrong feel so right. Hiding behind these walls of pride. Something's gotta give, but it ain't gonna be tonight. Holding on, knowing inside. I've been up, I've been down, drove myself out of this town, chased the road till the sun came up. Never no name, something to say. You said a whole lot, but you didn't say much. Now you're steering down these headlights, wondering how it changed my life. I guess I had it all wrong. Making simple be so easy. It's more than just a peaceful feeling. Simple as it seems, you can't slow life if you try. And don't go chasing inside. I've been up, I've been down, drove myself out of this town, chased the road till the sun came up. There never no name, something to say. You said a whole lot, but you didn't say much. Now I'm staring down these headlights, wondering how you changed my life. Guess I had it all wrong. Pieces fit all alone. I've been up, I've been down, drove myself out of this town, chased the road till the sun came up. Never no name, something to say. You said a whole lot, but you didn't say much. Now I'm staring down these headlights, I'm watching as it changed my life. Yes, I had it all wrong. Yes, I had it all wrong.
That's the ease and comfort of Will Carter here on the Backstage Pass. Love the vocals, and definitely I've still yet to make it to a show, but here in 2022, now that they're back on going and artists are doing back out there, kind of doing what they do best on stage, I cannot wait to get there and come see you, my friend, in person and just enjoy the great sound that you have. It's traditional Texas country, the ballads or the fast ones that you sing, no doubt about it, man. It's all all good. So if you guys have not gotten Will's music out there, check it out, Spotify, wherever you stream, and make sure you go get the new album that's been out there since October, which is How You Know. Hey, speaking of that, let's talk about that. We'll take a break in a second, but How You Know and how that particular album came together, and everybody says, it's cool to put out singles and full-length albums, and sometimes it's tough to choose songs of what goes on there because you guys have a lot of great material. Talk about how that one came together, and how many another just great variety of songs, Will, that relate to so many fans.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. So during COVID, I have this digital hook book, what I call it. It's my notes file of mine. Whenever I get hit with inspiration, driving around, walking in the grocery store, whenever it may be, comes at the most inopportune times typically. So I jot those hooks down, man, and then I have to schedule, block out like 3 or 4 hours and go, okay, I'm going to develop this hook or that hook or whatever. Well, with COVID, that just gave us so many. We had more time to do that, right? So, a couple times a week, man, I'd pick one and bang it out. And like I said, I had just about 2 albums worth of music, both written and recorded. And it goes back to, and you have this list, and when you're going to try to put an album together, it's the same strategy I use for Good Bad Ideas. Like, I want to have something in there for everybody, right? So you don't want a whole album full of love songs or a whole album full of heartbreak songs or whatever. You need a mix, and so that the idea behind putting music out is for people to be able to relate to it and even interpret it a little bit in their own way and apply it to their own lives, but ultimately just relate to it. And so having those different themes, different topics, different subjects, different feels, different vibes, mixing them up so that it's kind of, it covers all your bases, from having a good time to heartbreak. And of course, COVID brought in some stuff that we'd never seen before, right? So that's, it came like the song, What About Love? I mean, that was written specifically to address all the crazy, just division and anger and hate and ridiculousness that we've been seeing all over the news and the media seems to kind of shove down our throats. So just to remind everybody, that it's not all like that, and to choose, unity over division, choose love over hate. And so there's just, you as a writer, you're going to write what you know and what you experience. And while we're all very different, we're all also very similar. So there's a very good chance that what you're experiencing or what you're feeling or going through, someone else has, and can benefit from, hearing your perspective on it.
And hence that makes for a great record, and that's what How You Know is. That's the title track of it. Leads off with it, and boy, it takes you on a ride from 1 to, I believe there's 15 cuts on there too. In fact, I love the fact you put the How You Know full band sound recorded version of it and the acoustic version, which was song, I believe 14 or 15 on that particular record. So definitely, 15 songs. So be sure and check that out if you guys have not download or stream that, or get Will's numbers up on Spotify and all the other different spinning formats out there too. We'll take a quick time out for our sponsors, Bangtail Whiskey, and of course our good friends over at MitchMacs.com. Coming back more with Will Carter, another performance, and we'll talk about several of my favorites there from the album too, including Ocean, and one of my favorites called Las Vegas. So if you guys have not heard that, feel free to download that and let me know your thoughts. If you guys have any comments, leave them for Will in the comment box. We'll get to as many as we can here. It's the Backstage Pass. It's Will Carter, again, presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our good friends over at MitchMacs.com for official Backstage Pass merchandise. More to come with Will coming right back. Hang tight.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And every day of the week, of course, on Facebook and, of course, Instagram, wherever you can find us out there, official Backstage Pass, and at the SportsGuysPodcast.com. If you miss a show, you can always catch them there, live video interviews or the recorded audio ones. Tomorrow, James Garland on the show. Thursday, one of my favorites, Raleigh Keegan. And on Friday, she's going on tour with Tim McGraw. Big summer tour coming up. Alexandra Kay, pleased to be joined today by Will Carter, Texas country artist. A lot of cool things going on in his world, and definitely lots happened in the last year and a half he was talking about in the show, if you missed that too as well. So be sure and check out the podcast wherever you download or stream podcasts there. Again, the album is How You Know, out there across all the digital platforms. So, Will, I got to talk about a couple of my favorites here. We're presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our good friends over at MitchMacs.com, and of course our friends at Hank Jr. Productions. Man, Las Vegas came to life on that album. It really did. And you guys put a lot of just cool, just melody and instrumentation into it. Tell me about Las Vegas.
That's a fun one. That's really, I would say, fun one. So yeah. On the last album, Good Bad Idea, we had a song called Wishful Drinking that was kind of similar. It's one of those songs that you sit down with a hook and in 20 minutes you have a song. It just kind of writes itself. And Las Vegas was the same thing. It was I don't do a ton of fictional stories. Like at the Silent Radio, it's a fictional story. Wishful Drinking is a fictional story. And Las Vegas is a fictional story. I don't do a ton of those though. So it's always kind of interesting to do something out of the norm. And it's weird that when I do write those, because the same has been for all three of them, that they tend to just kind of write themselves. Mm-hmm. But you can have fun with it. You're not trying to tell a specific story. You're making it up as you go. And so it's kind of designing, I guess, a fun adventure. And that's what Las Vegas is. Obviously, it's talking about, drinking too much and waking up in Vegas and doing something stupid.
Yeah, that's the notice I got out of it too. At the same time, it related, no doubt. The other one I think was track 9 or 10, track 9 off of there, Ocean. Man, that really kind of really brought to light a lot of things. Definitely people can get the feel of that song when they hear it. Talk about Ocean a little bit.
So Ocean is actually a song that I wrote in 2014. I wrote with Emily Weisband, and so I was writing with a girl. And it was interesting to write. Emily's a great writer, but it was also different writing with a girl, and it was cool because I got the things that I wouldn't have thought of from my perspective being a guy. She had a different take on it. And so I'd always loved the song, but it was very different than what I was doing at that time. I was putting together my first EP, and it was just different than the other tracks. It didn't really fit, and I'd shelved it. But I love this. I personally love the song, and after we put out You Feel Like Home, and that was our first top 10. The team kind of got together and was like, okay, well, you had a top 10, so now we got to come back with something strong. What do we do? What's sort of in the same vein kind of thing? And unanimously, my entire team, radio promoters, publicists, everybody, unanimously, management, everybody unanimously chose the song Ocean. And I was surprised because it was an older one, right? Like I'd written it so long ago. But I think that since that first album that I put out, obviously as everybody does, I matured, I grew up, I evolved as a musician, as a person, as a writer, as a whole. And so that song now fits into what I'm doing on with the other tracks. And so we recorded that one, and I was at the time I was going on my honeymoon in Belize. I was talking to my wife prior to that, going, I'm putting out a song called Ocean. And I really need to do a music video to it. And we're going to be in Belize, and there's really not a whole lot of places you can go with a better ocean than Belize. Oh, yeah. What would you think about doing a music video while we're there? And of course, she's, only you would want to work on your honeymoon. I was like, okay, but hear me out. So what we'll do is we'll have the crew there just for one day, the day before we fly back, and we'll put together a honeymoon highlights video. And so we'll do the music video, and then we'll do a couple scenes like just you and I. And what I didn't tell her, and so she agreed, she's cool. But then what I didn't tell her was that I ultimately was going to put her in the music video, so that now I'm golden.
You're golden. You've included her in your golden now too, and you got those brownie points, no doubt about it. Always important to earn with the significant other. And I tell you, man, so many. And again, I go on and on with this album all day long because I know it like the back of my hand. Make Waves, dude, was so cool. Like you just again the water theme that you talked about with Ocean and kind of like, and I do that sometimes too. Like I'm on vacation, but I'm still thinking about okay. I'm gonna do this with the podcast. I'm gonna interview this and this question. Let's see this. I'm still gonna work, but putting out great songs, it requires that extra attention. And I thought you guys did it with Make Waves too.
And that one's fun to do. Why? Or to do like, well, I mean, just the groove, the beat gets everybody moving.
Yeah.
I was at the Stockyards in Fort Worth when we were playing that show, and everybody was so into it. 'Cause like I said, it was different than anything they'd ever seen. Like it was very interactive and very high energy, and so they were they're expecting to come and sit down and watch the show, and next thing you know, they're line dancing and so Lost, for example. We get all the girls up and make them do this dance up by the stage with these light up like tambourines and maracas. And then we immediately go into Las Vegas and have them do the train. So they're like doing this train all through the crowd or whatever. I mean, everybody's dancing and it's great. So the energy is way up high. So then we click into Make Waves. I was literally doing the baseball thing where they're getting the whole crowd to do the
I love that. It's good stuff right there, especially the concert and everybody's ready, like you said, to bust out, have a good time, especially after what we've gone through just as a nation over the past a couple of years, man. It just good stuff and love it so much. I'm going to take this comment because it's just something I've been thinking about in my mind as the show has been going on. Chris, I love that. You're right. And that's something that I'm about to get one of those. And you actually can go to willcarterofficial.com and put an order in now because I was going to plug it anyway there too, because I actually love those hats. So definitely, Chris, thanks for beating me to the punch, no doubt about it too. Tell me about this one because this is kind of like that lost love, and House of Cards was kind of like that heartache of lost love. Tell me about that one, kind of where it came from, and I know that was one that you had a hand in writing. You wrote that one too, correct?
I did. House of Cards from the Good Bad Idea album. Honestly, to this day, was probably the hardest song I've ever had to write. Like I had obviously gone through a breakup, and that was the purpose behind writing that song. But the fun ones are easy, and they tend to write themselves a little more. But the deeper, more serious ones are very hard, and I struggled to. I probably rewrote that song 15 times before I was happy with it, because it's a deep subject. It's emotion. It's vulnerable. It's emotional, but it's. To this day, one of my favorites to perform live because our show is very lighthearted and energetic and fun. And so there's a stark contrast to then switch over and dim the lights and I'll walk out, me and a pedestal mic stand and perform that very emotional song and just completely changes the whole dynamic of the room. And then, of course, come back with Good Bad Idea after it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely change the dynamic from one tune to the next, no doubt. But still keeping that crowd engaged. That's why I can't wait to get to a show, my friend, coming up here since we're both in Texas, no doubt about it. I will turn it over to you, man. Let's do another one here on the show again. How You Know is the current full-length album out there from Texas country artist Will Carter here on the Backstage Passing and presented by our good friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, MitchMacs.com. And Hank Jr. Productions. My friend, it's all yours. What's up next?
So this is going to be our next radio single. We're going to radio with this Cinco de Mayo week, first week of May. This is, oddly enough, another song that we've been playing for probably 6 or 7 years live. I had it produced twice and was not happy with the production either time, so we never released it. But we get more requests for this song than any other original. We won the Texas Colgate Showdown thing with it a few years ago. It's a crowd favorite, and then it became a team favorite. My radio promoter, David Gilligan and Jen, really pushed for us to get this song recorded. And it's kind of a turning page for us. So in the past, the last two albums, I either wrote or co-wrote every song on there. But I didn't have a big hand in the production. I had producers that would hire, studio musicians or what have you to put the album together. And then we would, my band would learn them and then we go play them. Well, this is going to be the title track off of the next album, which we're already in the works with, and the first release from it. And we used our group, our band, to record this. Went down to Edgewater Studios in Sugar Land, just down the street from we're all Houston based. Did this one track with them and really liked it. So we're probably going to end up working with them on the rest of them. But so this was coming out, like I said, first week of May. Yet it's new, but it's not new, kind of thing. But it's new for us. This whole album will be us, just us, real and raw, and it is no studio musicians, like we play it live. So this song's called "Wrong Side of Town." I said, "Hey girl, I heard that you're moving on to the right side of town where you belong. Baby, I can't sit around waiting for this rain to undo strong. I can go drink water in the summertime. Go middle of after a hard day at work. I said, give me a sign and let me know you're into it. You can tell me your secret, baby. Yeah, you know I can keep it. 'Cause when the sun goes down and you're around, it's you and me, honey, on the wrong side of town. I can wake up in the morning and feel your touch. Turn off the telephone, act like we're not on. You can go if you want to, but I hope you don't leave me alone in this empty space. Like a fine glass of wine at the evening time. Oh, margarita in the summertime. I said, give me a sign and let me know you're into it. You can tell me your secret, baby. Yeah, you know I can keep it. 'Cause when the sun goes down and you're around, it's you and me, honey, on the wrong side of town. I can go drink water in the summertime. Cold margarita in the evening time. I said, give me a sign and let me know you're into it. Well, you can tell me your secret, baby. Yeah, you know I can keep it. 'Cause when the sun goes down and you're around, it's you and me, honey, on the wrong side of town. Wrong side of town. Wrong side of town. Wrong side of town.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. First week in May. Look for it to come out. It's raw, it's real, it's Will Carter, no doubt about it here. And the Backstage Pass, great music too as well. And I've got an interesting question to ask you. We're going to take a quick break, but definitely going to kind of build on this. It's about writing. It's about some cool things that you did in one of my favorite cities, Nashville, Tennessee. We'll talk about this when we come back from break. And it's Will Carter. It's the Backstage Pass. Hang tight here. Of course, you can check him out at willcarterofficial.com for all the show dates. And, of course, everybody out there, like I said, performing out there, the tour schedule, show dates, and get some of that merchandise. I'm going to have to get me on, just get me a Will Carter cap, no doubt about it, too. So, Will Carter, what's that?
You know somebody.
Yeah, I probably do. Yeah, willcarterofficial.com. We'll come back. A word from MitchMacs and Bangtail Whiskey. Hang tight.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And that's the cool thing about this show is you never know who's going to pop in. Coming up next week, one of my favorite rock bands of all time. People might remember the band Nazareth, and they had some good hits called Love Hurts, and I think it was Hair of the Dog, big album for them there, Scottish rock band too. Pete Agnew is going to join us next week from the great rock band, tell some great rock stories, and I'm sure they've got a lot of cool things to talk about, including a new album they just put out here again powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And if you're like me and Will, you're an Astros fan, so you did see the game last night. Hopefully you did. Yordan Alvarez, crazy, 2 homers and 4 runs batted in. My God, this guy was a tremendous find for the ball club as about 4 or 5 years ago. What a tremendous player. You were there, so you got to see.
Telling you, first at bat at home. See ya.
2-run shots.
Right away, everybody went, "Yep, gone."
And then Bradley tried to challenge him later in the ball game, and that worked out to his favor. Hey, I love this story because you told it to me last time on the audio side too, and definitely been friends of yours a long time now, a couple of years. You spent some time in Nashville working with some of the best writers in the business, and that's what's so cool about going there. And I usually travel there a couple times a year to meet with artists I work with, and of course, just network with some fine people in the business. And you've actually crossed paths with a guy named Shane Stevens. And you told this story. Now, this is cool because if people don't remember him, he had a big Billboard hit. It was a #1 Billboard hit with Lady A. Almost said the old way. It's Lady A. American Honey was out there. But you gave Shane a lot of credit to the flavor of the style of you guys working together and putting a little bit of that flavor into your modern day sound today without going too far. Of course, I know he's done some work with Ariana Grande and some other fine pop artists out there. Talk about just how much he has meant to you as a writer and a singer and a performer.
Man, Shane is insanely talented. I co-wrote with Shane for the first time in 2014, a song called That Kiss off the first album. And to this day, that is still probably my favorite song. Definitely on that album, but it's just a go-to. Like anytime I'm stumped, if I'm in an interview, they're like, "Play something." I don't know what to play. I just go. It was the first time I'd written with him, and it was just so different than writing on my own, writing with friends, writing with other co-writers. There's just something. There's something about every time I get in the room with Shane, something magical happens. Like he's just he and I are different people. We're very different people, but we jive very well. So it's just a really cool dynamic. And he introduced me to Nash Overstreet, which is Paul Overstreet's son. Paul's a huge songwriter and artist. Daddy's Come Around, Mama's Way of Thinking. That's what popped in my head. But so with Nash, it's even better. Like with the three of us, Nash is great instrumentally as well. And so just the creative vibes that are in the room. Nash and I have written some songs together. Shane and I have written some songs together. Nash and Shane and I have written some songs together. And honestly, there hasn't been a bad one. Like every single time. and Shane even says, he goes, "Man," he always uses the word lucky. He's like, "You always get lucky." Like, because we'll just sit down and just bang something out and be like, "That's awesome." I don't know if lucky's the right word, but I mean, maybe it is. I was in Nashville last year, about this time maybe. And we were at some little studio, and he goes, "Hey man, you should check this out. We just wrote with Walker Hayes," and he let me listen to like 2 songs that they had written with him. And of course, obviously, Fancy Like is like the next big thing that the world. It's good to see Shane go into the Grammys and his post. Like I couldn't be happier. He's such a good person. He's got a really tough story. I know Shane well now. I've known him for 7 years, and we were real close. So. He came from a pretty rough place, but he's done amazing things and obviously written a ton of amazing songs, written with amazing artists. And then to get to see him finally get to go to the Grammy and have a song up there was obviously a dream of his forever. So it's definitely have a soft spot in my heart for Shane, but to be able to see that unfold the way it did for him was amazing. It was a great deal.
True talent. Of course, people say lucky, call it good, whatever it is. And I've had Walker here on the program a couple of different times to talk to him about that song and what it did. And of course, just writing with the best breeds the best and creates the best tunes and the best songs. And if one person doesn't record it, somebody else will. And it's there you go. It becomes the next big thing right before before our eyes, no doubt about it. Well, hey, I love talking to you. I could talk music all day long because that's what I do here for a living, no doubt. And I got to throw in some rapid fire because I always have fun doing this, getting to know you more on a personal side. Or since the last time we played the fastest growing game show out there, what's changed since then? All right, during the pandemic or even now, what programs have you gotten into to binge watch lately?
The most recent one was Young Sheldon.
That's a good one.
And it's funny because I think I'm not always up with pop culture. I'm usually behind the times. But like the most recent one was Young Sheldon. We did this and of course watched every episode. The Ranch, Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Those are the most recent three that we just wrapped up Young Sheldon last week. And it's like, okay, so now what do we go? So I'm open to suggestions for.
Ooh. Well, I got one for you.
I don't. Everybody's all about Yellowstone and whatnot. And to me, I'm more. I like funny better than drama.
I could see that too. I know I'm waiting. I think it's next week. Is it the final? I think it's the 29th. The final season of the Ozarks is coming out with Jason Bateman and the whole cast. What's that?
It's not funny though.
No, it probably. Man, I don't know. Funny. Man, outside of just the comedian stuff to watch or some of the classic stuff with Larry the Cable Guy, I really can't think. Maybe if somebody has a suggestion, throw them in the comment box. We can probably watch some more.
I need a series that's funny or lighthearted because I'm like I'm doing music and I also have a pretty large construction company, so I'm extremely busy during the day. My wife's a doctor, so she comes home at 7 and it does notes on her computer till 10. We have like the 45 minutes to an hour window, 10 to 11, to try to just wind down. Mm-hmm. So that's why I gravitate to the kind of lighthearted. Turn it off for a little bit so I can get some sleep.
No, and Schitt's Creek was one of the best. It was
great.
It'll make you laugh for hours and hours upon hours. And of course, I'm with you. Young Sheldon, Big Bang Theory, shows like that. Friends is always a classic. I can watch the reruns over and over again. All right, what's the best meal that you guys have cooked lately in the Carter household, or you've had takeout?
Well, we do takeout or Uber Eats like every single day.
Yeah, I'm with you right there.
My bookkeeper tells me I have an Uber Eats problem.
Nothing wrong with that.
But I got a Traeger grill recently, and
I
freaking love the Traeger grill. So and I'm a big redfish fan. So I would say the best thing I've done on the Traeger grill so far was redfish.
Redfish. Man, I tell you what, that makes you hungry for a piece of that tonight, because I usually do Wednesday, Thursday, or sometimes Tuesday, depends. It's kind of a seafood night for me too at the same time. But I do love any type of fish out there. And lately I got into grouper, man. Grouper's just just one of those enticing, salivating type of fishes you enjoy. And of course, redfish that's classic out there too. But I got to get back to the seafood department for HEB. They've got some pretty cool stuff in there.
That's where I shop. Go grouper because I need to try it out.
Yeah, it's good stuff, no doubt. All right, what's in the Will Carter coffee in the morning when you get up? What do you like to put in that?
I really don't put anything in it. I just
straight black. Okay.
I always say I like my coffee like I like my women, hot, black, and strong.
I think he's gonna go there. That's good stuff, man. Hey, brother, I tell you what, the country music is strong, no doubt. Working with some of the best writers out there. Congratulations on all the success since we talked in 2019. Just so great to catch up. And thanks to Heidi for everything and setting everything up. I was so glad when your name crossed my screen and my email, and I said, yeah, you know what? That's a buddy of mine. I got to catch up. How You Know is out there across all the digital platforms. The first week in May, Cinco de Mayo. Look for the brand new album out there, and also check out WillCarterOfficial.com. We'll always appreciate the visit, my friend. And hey, let's not wait so long to catch up again. Let's go to some Astro games.
Hey, anytime. I've got way too many. Who aside from the Astros, who's your favorite team?
Aside from the Astros,
or least favorite team, who do you want to see the Astros beat? Maybe that's the way.
To beat, I always love seeing them beat the New York Yankees.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Now, second favorite team in my household that I don't know if they're on the schedule this year, and I'll still root for Houston. The second favorite team, 1A, 1B, or 1 and 2, I guess you say, is the Los Angeles Dodgers. My dad grew up a big Dodger fan. I just went to spring training in Arizona for the first time at Camelback Ranch, where they train in Glendale. So that was a pretty cool feat to kind of check that box, seeing Clayton Kershaw, Texas kid, pitch out there. Went to high school with Matt Stafford. So that's another cool story. So second favorite team is the Dodgers. If they're on the schedule, I'm going to have to contact you for tickets to go see them. But I'll still want Houston to beat LA in Minute Maid Park. That'll be a cool thing, no doubt. It's Will Carter here. It's the Backstage Pass presented by Bangtail Whiskey, our good friends at MitchMacs.com, the official merchandise provider of the Backstage Pass. Go there and get some cool stuff, coffee mugs, men's, ladies apparel. And, of course, our good friends at Hank Jr. Productions, documenting life's moments through videography, podcasting, and through a whole lot of cool things in photography. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. James Garland on the show. Then Thursday, Raleigh Keegan. Friday, Alexandra Kay. Next week, Pete Agnew of the great rock band Nazareth. We'll see you guys coming up here on the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30. If you missed the interview today with Will, it's going to be up on the website at thesportsguyspodcast.com. We'll see you guys soon. Have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.